smell bullshit.
Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David. I've been searching the interzones for more science, space and tech news to share with you. Came across this over at rt.com. Yes, apparently the Five Eyes are developing secret cloud. This should be very interesting. Yes, the technology would reportedly allow intelligence agencies from the US, Canada, Britain, New Zealand and Australia to share data. Very interesting indeed. Let's find out what's happening here. Yes, the Five Eyes intelligence group is reportedly considering the creation of a top-secret cloud environment that would allow its members to more easily share data, the outlet Breaking Defense reported on Tuesday. This is very interesting. I've wanted to know more about the cooperation between these particular countries. It's actually quite fascinating, especially seeing as I'm an Australian, so it's actually very interesting indeed. Yes, I've reminds me of the cooperation between Britain and Canada during Margaret Thatcher's reign as Prime Minister from 1979 to 1990 in the UK, where there was a scandal. I think it was about 1983 or 85. I think it was about 83, where the civil service who was supporting the government and the opposition in the UK jumped up and down because apparently they believed that MI5, the British Internal Intelligence Service, was spying on them. And of course, Margaret Thatcher jumped up and down and screamed and said, "How dare you, I'm mortally offended." The Iron Lady herself said, "We would not dare spy on our own citizens. How dare you say that?" Investigation, turns out she was telling the truth. MI5 was not spying on its own citizens. Yeah, they got the Canadian Intelligence Service to do it for her and then pass the information on to MI5. Fascinating. Right, so officials from the group's member countries, which include the US, UK, Canada, New Zealand and Australia, reportedly agreed at a recent Department of Defense Intelligence Information System conference, or DOTIS, that such technology would turn information technology interoperability into a reality, the outlet said. Yes, it also envisaged that the information stored in the cloud could be tagged with metadata that would help identify where the intelligence came from, according to Brigadier General Eric Vandenberg, who heads the General Intelligence Enterprise for the Canadian Department of National Defence. Now, not only would this cloud be a top-secret cloud, but it would also be classification agnostic as well, because the data is all tagged, because all of my users would have all the correct digital identities. I can store all the data in the cloud. Everyone can access what they're allowed to access when they're allowed to access it. It would enable interoperability, Vandenberg told an audience at the DOTIS conference this week. Of course, which means that if we don't like you, we can switch off the tagging and you won't get to read it. Yes, next month when we have an argument with Canada or something like that. Or if Donald Trump wins the presidency, well, we'll switch off the bits we don't want him to see. Oh, Lord. I've been around long enough to see what happens. 1 minute the Russians are our enemies since the end of they were our friends during the Second World War. Then the Russians became our enemies till 1991. Then they became our friends, and then they became our enemies in 2022. Now, while Russia's not a part of this little Five Eyes group, you can see the point I'm making. Politics changes, people change, and leaders change and policies change, and 1 minute the New Zealanders will be out. I mean, have a look at ANZUS, the Australia-New Zealand-US alliance. That's been under strain for years at one point. Because from one point on, because the New Zealanders didn't like US nuclear-powered vessels in their harbours, mainly because of the French, because the French at Muir Atoll were doing nuclear testing, and apparently the French Secret Service decided to blow up a Greenpeace vessel in Auckland Harbour back in the mid-'80s. So the New Zealanders don't like nuclear power. That's fine. They can have that opinion, but it's put a lot of strain on the ANZUS alliance. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in future with future politics when all this moves forward. I'm saying it's it's not going to be that difficult to exclude somebody, shall we say? Right, so Jack Maxton, the Chief Information Officer for Defence Intelligence at the British Ministry of Defence, has also expressed hope for the creation of such a network and also called for cutting down on unnecessary bureaucracy within the intel sharing group. That I agree with. My only other issue is who controls the whole thing? Is it the US or is the control spread between all 5 countries? As I say, you've only going to have one country that the others all gang up on, you know? Interesting. Bureaucratic restrictions are adding very little value either to our security to our intelligence mission, but because they've been there for so long, we've just got really, really comfortable, Maxton said. However, Breaking Defence cited Brigadier Andrew McBarron, Director General of Intelligence Data and Targeting for the Australian Department of Defence, as saying that the creation of such a cloud is still only being considered and is an ambitious aspirational goal for the time being. No Five Eyes officials have suggested when such a network can be launched. Nevertheless, they reportedly believe that it would transform how member agencies work together. Yeah, it should be very interesting to see if it, once it sort of does come to pass, exactly what the political dynamic is between it. Obviously the US and Britain will stick together. I'm assuming the Canadians will maybe stick with Britain or the US, but New Zealand and Australia will definitely have close ties, as we always do. ANZACS, if you don't know what that stands for, Australian New Zealand Army Corps, we've had a very close relationship since, I think, probably the Boer War from 1899 in South Africa to 1902. But it really took off in the First World War, and Aussies and New Zealanders have been fighting side by side ever since. So it's going to be interesting to see how the political dynamic plays out with this Five Eyes cloud data sharing, intelligence data sharing system. Should be absolutely fascinating. Now, just before we finish off, we've got a little video here that gives us some more background on the Five Eyes, and we'll finish off the conversation when we come out the other side.
The intelligence leaders of the Five Eyes Alliance, comprising the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, have accused China of being a major global threat. In a joint statement made during the news program 60 Minutes on CBS News, 3 officials alleged that China is systematically engaged in stealing intellectual property, trade secrets, and personal data on a global scale. The issue of intellectual property theft has long been a point of tension between the US and China. However, the group made their first joint public appearance ever last week to issue a stark warning regarding China conducting an ongoing global espionage campaign. Welcome to Telangana Today. Before entering into the details of China's espionage, let's understand the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the reasons behind its existence, and what the group does exactly. The Five Eyes is a multilateral intelligence sharing network shared by over 20 different agencies of 5 English-speaking countries: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The countries share human intelligence, signal intelligence or SIGINT, security intelligence, geospatial intelligence, and defense intelligence with each other. SIGINT is information from radars, the internet, mobile networks, and weapon systems. Intelligence documents shared between the member countries are classified as secret to the eyes of 5 countries only, which gave the group its title Five Eyes. The alliance originated during World War II to counter threats from the Soviet Union and other potential enemies. It was formed in 1946 with the British-US Communication Intelligence Agreement, also called the US-UK Agreement. Over time, it expanded to include Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Despite its formation in the 1940s, it remained secret for many years, with even top officials unaware of its existence until the 1970s. Initially, each member had specific areas of responsibility for intelligence gathering, but the focus has shifted to address new global challenges, including terrorism and China's influence. The Five Eyes network now covers a wide range of intelligence and defense areas, from ocean surveillance to counterterrorism. They maintain a secret collective database called Stone Ghost and have an oversight body called the Five Eyes Intelligence Oversight and Review Council. The intelligence leaders in the Five Eyes partnership monitor the global threat landscape, like the ongoing conflict on the Middle East, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and what they label as China's unprecedented global espionage campaign. Coming to China's data theft issue, after issuing a warning in May this year, the Five Eyes Alliance has collectively voiced its concerns about the country's actions for the first time. US FBI Director Christopher Wray called this a serious threat, emphasizing how China is endangering global innovation. The accusations encompass a broad spectrum of sectors, ranging from quantum technology, robotics, and biotechnology to artificial intelligence. Ray stressed that China's hacking combined with the physical spying and trade secret theft gives them unprecedented power. Mike Burgess, the Australian Security Intelligence Organization's Director General, accused the Chinese government of conducting the most sustained, scaled, and sophisticated theft of intellectual property and expertise in human history. He highlighted a recent incident in which a Chinese plot secretly accessed an Australian research institution was discovered. They also worry about how China uses AI to make these threats even more significant. Ray called for private industry and academia to collaborate in countering these threats, with a particular focus on the risks associated with artificial intelligence tools. In response, China has refuted these claims, asserting that they safeguard intellectual property and view the accusations as baseless and defamatory. The country accused the US of indiscriminate eavesdropping and espionage on information worldwide, not even sparing its own allies. Thank you for joining Telangana today. Do share your views regarding the issue in the comment section.
Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? Getting a bit of background on the Five Eyes. Yes. As I say, the political dynamics of the machinations and shenanigans going on behind this should be very interesting. We may be five Western countries with similar values and similar cultures and everything else, but believe me, there's a lot of historical tension that goes on between us. I can tell you that much, particularly between Australia and Britain being a former penal colony of Great Britain. Yes, it's quite interesting. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining us for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. Greatly appreciate. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say...
Вы меня рассмешили.